Hey, thank you for coming to this goal setting workshop. And I hesitate to call it a goal setting workshop because, man, we set some goals in the last few years, didn't we? And it didn't work out so well. I'm gonna turn on Instagram real quick so that in case anyone hops in there, they can. But I wanted to do this just because it's something that we do inside of the Smart Social Strategy Club. And if you want to know about Smart Social Strategy Club, I'll put the link in the chat. But for now, I'm going to have you muted and go ahead and type questions in the chat. And then at the very end, if you have more questions, we'll open up the mics. Be aware that this is being recorded, so hopefully you're okay with that. If you don't want to be recorded, turn off your camera and don't talk, and then you won't be on the final recording. But this is the Dreams and Intentions and Goals workshop. And if you downloaded this, if you didn't, you can go back to your email and get it. You don't have to print it up. It is a fillable PDF. A few of you have it. I love seeing that. But this is something that I just felt really kind of called to do because the last time I set goals, remember when 2020 was going to be our best year ever in the whole world, ever universe, because 2020, it was a big deal. And then by March, all that went away. All of that went away, right? It's been a rough couple of years and I have not done any goal setting. I've been flying by the seat of my pants. I have been doing what came to me and it's time to change that. I hesitate to say 2023 is going to be our best year ever, but it certainly can be better than the last 2 or 3 years, right? If you're watching on Instagram, we are on Zoom. You're welcome to click the link in my bio and get the link to join us on Zoom if you prefer. Or also, if you sign up there, you'll get the replay. So that will be helpful. But the very first page, I'm going to go ahead and screen share so that you can see this also on here. Okay, so the very first page is a 2022 review. And the first thing I want to ask you is if you had a theme word. Now, this is something that I didn't even know was a thing until probably about, gosh, I want to say maybe 8 or 9 years ago. It was introduced to me at a church, and I thought, well, that's a unique concept. And then I found out there's a whole website called oneword365.com where you can go and it gives you all these ideas for choosing a word. There are ways that you can connect with people who've chosen your same word. Well, that first year, I went through this huge process to choose my word. And it works. It works for you. This year was different for me. So, and I'll explain that in a minute. But that year, what I did was I got out just a journal and I wrote an entire page of just words that came to me, just words that I thought would be great. And of course, I went with the words that I wanted it to be, right? So I went with words like abundance and provision and growth and, you know, all the things that really mattered to me at that time. Stability, a relationship, faith, you know, things like that. And then I filled up a whole page. And about 2 days later, I did it again. I didn't look at that page. I did it again. Wrote all the words I could think of. And I did it a third time. Then I got a highlighter out and I went through and I highlighted the common words that kept coming up for me. Well, that year, what kept coming up for me was the word deeper. Isn't that interesting? And it really was remarkable how your prefrontal cortex and the way your brain works, when you make a suggestion to it, it will look for that. So when you choose a word, you will do things to make yourself move in the direction of that word. And it's really interesting. There's a ton of brain science behind it if you want to Google it. But this very first page is just if you had a theme word. I didn't. My last one was, I picked a word for 2020 and it was impact. And then I didn't feel like I meant for it for my business. I wanted to impact more people and help more people. And I feel like that all went away, like everything fizzled out. But then when I think about it, my whole family moved in with us. I had my 2 grandkids. I had my daughter, my son, my daughter-in-law. We went from 2 empty nesters to 7 in 2 days. And my daughter went home after several months, and my son and his family stayed for 20 months. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I made an impact. I impacted those lives that year, and it did not look how I wanted it to look. So if you do choose a word, don't hang on too tightly to how you need it to look, because it might look different. But if you want to take a look at this page, and I gave you 2 pages to write on, wins for your year. Sometimes this takes a minute to think about, but if you will just kind of sit with this, and you can do this in terms of personal wins, relational wins, health wins, any gains that you made, faith wins, business wins. What were your wins for the year? And let's try and trace a common thread through those wins. The next page I don't love, but it's important to do a review, and that is to look at your losses. What were your disappointments? What didn't go the way you thought it would go or wanted it to go? And then, almost more important than that, what drained you? And the reason I'm asking what drained you is because these are things that you want to exclude from your life, if you can at all, if it's at all possible. Sometimes it's criticism, and I will say it's not always criticism from others. Sometimes we are our own worst critics. We drain ourselves by the way we talk to ourselves sometimes, right? Maybe you missed a learning opportunity that you thought was going to be great, and it just didn't work out. And then the last thing on that page is, where have I settled? And this kind of goes along with disappointments. Sometimes we're disappointed, and then we settle for less. And I think that we don't need to settle for less. Now, this next page is kind of interesting. It's reviewing your current status. And I'll show those of you who are on Instagram, it's just a page like this. It's backwards for you, but once you download it, you'll see. This is something that it's really good to take inventory twice a year, quarterly, anytime there's a little bit of a change, because this is what your focus is going to be for the next few months. So maybe 90 days is a good thing. I call this a 2023 goal setting workshop, but really, how about 90 days? And then you reassess. How about you do this every 90 days through the year of 2023? What you do is, and if you're filling it in with your computer, you can just write the number in the beginning. But I circled it. So you want to circle the number after each area and give it a score. Your current status, 1 to 10, how satisfied you are in that area of your life. 1, complete disaster, like you hate this part of your life. 10, oh my gosh, it's so fantastic, I don't know how it could be better, right? And then you're going to see patterns emerge. So circle what is just really awful right now. And it doesn't mean that it's terrible. It just means it's not where your heart wants it to be. Like, it could be better, right? And I put things in here like your faith, your spirituality, your family, fitness, your mental and your physical health, your finances, fun. Are you planning to have enough fun? Your personal growth and personal fulfillment, friends and friend relationships, your physical environment, Is it a cluttered mess? Is it organized? Do you have wallpaper from 1982 that you would like to get rid of? We just got rid of ours a little while ago. You know, if you've been in a house a long time, there's some things that just kind of bug you. I remember we built our house my husband's a builder, and we built our house in 1988. And I put in the living room these really, you know, fancy drapes with the swag and everything. Well, like, you know, 15 years later, every time I walked by that room, I went, oh, like I hated it. It just was heavy. And now what's on there is like shears, you know, these really cute plaid shears. But I needed to change that environment in order to love that room again. So it might not even be that. It might be just putting a few things away, or taking things off the couch and putting them away, or throwing some things away, giving them away. Your work or your business. If you are an entrepreneur, this is something that, you know, most of us are always striving to get better at. So rate where you are, 1 to 10. And then the last thing is your generosity or philanthropy. And this is a good time of year to review that as well. And then go back to that list and number each area in order of importance to you from 1 to 10. 1 now is the most important and 10 is the least important. And this is the hardest part for me, because I want to fix everything. I want to fix all of these things, right? I want all of these things to be better. But if you don't pick one and or 1, 2, or 3 and have a vision for that, you're going to just let everything go. All right. Deborah says her word in 2022 is consistency. Good for you, Deborah. I didn't even bother with a word in 2022 yet. Okay. Now the next page is kind of fun. This is your future vision. And this is where you get to cast a vision for the coming year. So pretend it's this time, 12 months from now. We're meeting again, December 2023, and you're filling in that first part about how did your year go? You're reviewing the year. What did it look like? Did it go according to your plan? Who did you become this year? And I wrote the phrase, remember, be, do, have. And let me explain that for a minute. A lot of times we think in terms of have, do, and be. Okay. When I have $10,000, then I will be generous. I will do what I need to do with it to help the people in my life. And then I will be a generous person. And I mean, you can apply that have, do, be to anything in your life. And we often think this way. I can't do that thing until I have this, and then I can do that, and then I will be that person. Once I have enough knowledge, then I can do the things, I can set up my LLC, and then I will be a CEO of my own company. Okay, flip that. Be, do, and then you have. If you right now start acting like the person you want to become, then you will be able to do the things and have what you want. It's a concept. You can Google it. There's a lot of things written about this, but it's a concept that is kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. But once you decide to be the person of your goals, things will flip for you. Okay, so if you write down your dream year of 2023 and write it in present tense. Or what you accomplished. Like 2023 was such a beautiful year. I had more time with my family than I ever thought I could. We went on an amazing camping trip together. And through that, I learned that I could, do all these things. Or I it was an amazing learning experience for me. 2023, my business grew faster than I ever thought it could. And I helped 300 women tell their story, or I helped 150 students, and I never thought that could happen. Okay. And then this is who I am in 2023. This is what I did in 2023. And now this is what I have because of that. So write those things like it's next year. And then we go back to the list again. Here's the next page. Oops, there's the next page. Okay, this page is prioritize. Okay, so what you're going to do is pick the top 3. So for example, if you pick the top 3 is, and I'm just put some examples here. And this is really hard, picking 3 out of those 10. So let's say you pick fulfillment or your personal development, learning, then finances and fitness. Okay. Now the next section says moving the needle. What actions are necessary to do that? So if priority 1 is your personal development and the things you want to learn, deconstruct that a little bit. What do you want to learn about specifically? Do you want to learn how to start a podcast? Do you want to learn how to be better at posting on social media? Do you want to, what is it that you want to learn? If it is your other priority is fitness or health, okay, do you want to lose 10 pounds? How do you deconstruct that? Over the next 3 months, you take a look at what it's going to take to do those things, to move the needle. So you list actions. So let's say the first one is personal development. What do I want to learn about? Then you choose sources of information. Read some sources, subscribe to a newsletter, listen to podcasts, go to the library, find some books. Let's say finance is your priority. Your things that will move the needle for your finances will be reviewing your expenses, your daily expenses. What do you have subscriptions to? What are you spending on groceries? And then how can I add some income to that to increase my finances? Do I have something around the house to sell? Do I need to start a side hustle? Is this the time where I start that business that I really feel called to do? Okay, so in all of those, evaluate where you are now and where you want to be, but only pick 3 things. This is the hardest part. Pick 3 things. And by choosing those 3 things, you are going to evaluate where you are. Okay, you've already done that on that list of 10. Pick your top 3 that you want to see changes in, especially in the next 90 days. Decide what your end goal is, and then reverse engineer that and put the pieces in place of what needs to happen. Okay. And that next page is to kind of brainstorm that some more, because if you have too many goals at once, you won't do anything. It's like a recipe for consistency, or for failure rather. The recipe for consistency is just picking some things that are attainable. Then you will feel empowered to go on to the next things. And it doesn't mean that you won't also make improvements in those other 10 areas now and then. But if you focus on the top 3 things that you want changes now, you will see a process. And then you can apply that process, because you will have learned it really well. You can apply that process to the next thing that you want to do. So again, I put on here that make it specific. A project, maybe it's a project around the house, maybe it's a fitness goal, maybe you want to run a half marathon by summer, things like that. And then you can even Google, like, I want to lose 10 pounds by March 1st. It will tell you how many you need to lose in a week, per week. Maybe that's 1 pound a week, and then some ways to get to that. And if you're a woman over a certain age, there's hormones involved in all that. So follow the people who will help you with that. And so you are looking at the results first. So remember, we're working backwards. So let's say you want to make $20,000 in your business. okay, then the numbers, what will it take to get there? Well, I have a product that costs $50, and then I have another product that costs $300. Okay, how many? Figure out how many you need to sell. So let's use round numbers. Let's say you have a product that's $300. Well, if you sell 100 of those over the next 10 or 12 weeks, that's only 8 a week. So when you break it down like that, it makes it feel a lot more attainable. And then figure out a system. And I hesitate to tell you what to do on this because I am the queen of buying every planner out there and then not using it. And I just learned last year. Yeah. Last January. So it's almost, been 2021 January. So it's almost been 2 years where I was officially diagnosed with ADHD. So that explained a lot about my life. But I learned that the reason I cannot do a dated planner is because there's some days where I get really mad at myself because life takes up the things that I want to get done I get distracted by life, and life happens and other fires need to be put out. And then I've got days that have gone by that haven't been filled in. And I've got this big old thick planner and I've only used this much of it. So I buy an undated planner now, and a 30-day undated planner. And I will write, what I need to do for the day, to-do list. You definitely need to write it down. For me, that's the system that works. It took a long time to figure that out, so I can't tell you what to do. I use the Push Goal Planner by Chalene Johnson because it's undated, and sometimes it will take me 3 months to go through a 30-day planner. And I don't feel bad about that anymore because I found what works for my brain. But you do need a system for reaching these goals. And the more you get into a routine of doing it every day, the better you'll get at it. So we're almost done here, and then we'll open it up for some questions if you have any. And so the daily work, this is another thing where you could get caught up in overwhelm, is if your list becomes too long, you might not do any of it. So every day, pick 3 things that will move you towards your goal. And it might only be, thanks for coming. Someone has to leave, so I'm just going to say goodbye. You can watch the rest of the replay if you need to. So it might be that you've got a list of 10 things. I mean, I don't have it with me here, but I had a list today of about 10 things. I have already checked 3 things off the list. So I'm going to call that a win because I can carry over to tomorrow some of those other things. And I just think that if you look at all these variations of ways you can get support, you can, for example, have a calendar or a planner system. This works amazingly well for a lot of people. You can do visible reminders. You can get one of those Post-it notes that is the long, kind of long sheets. I don't know if I have any here, but they're lined, and just make your list for the day on that and just stick it right on your computer screen or wherever you need to get work done, somewhere where you'll see it, and just be able to check them off of that. An accountability buddy is an amazing way to have accountability. We have a Facebook group. Actually, you'll see on the front of this, I didn't even introduce this, but on the front of this, you'll see this says Smart Social Strategy Club. This is something that we do inside the Smart Social Strategy Club, and I will post a link in the chat, or you can see it in my Instagram bio, or you can just type in smartsocialstrategyclub.com and you'll get there. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. All right, I'll do it after I'm done sharing here. And then on your calendar, in your phone, go ahead 90 days and set a quarterly alert for those things that need to be done every 90 days, such as, reevaluate your your income, or take a look at your expenses, or, find out if the course that you want is going to go on sale or anything like that. A monthly alert might be review your bank statement, make sure you balance it. A weekly alert might be like on Sundays, take a look at all your appointments for the week, get them written down, see it in front of you, what you need to do, and then have a daily practice to take care of that. And this is something you can scribble on, you can, just kind of watch for it. But the very last thing I'll leave you with was something I talked about in the very beginning, and that is deciding on a word for 2023. And I will say that, what I talked about before, where I wrote down all the different, possibilities, I wrote down pages and pages and kind of saw what the common thread was, what kept coming up for me. This year, it just kind of came to me. And in a different way, I heard someone suggested, I was in an online meeting with a gal who runs masterminds, and she was talking about growth. And I had a bodily reaction to that word, growth. And I was like, oh, that's it. I think that's my word. And then yesterday, I'm going to read this to you. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Be right back. This is how I'm telling you that sometimes the word just comes to you and then it gets confirmed from an outside source. You can call it God or the universe or whatever you want to, but this is what happened to me yesterday. So as I'm thinking about this word growth, I gave you a lot of space to scribble on there, so go ahead and do that. Yesterday, I'm going through a book that is called Honest Advent, and it's by Scott Erickson. It's just a reading every day, for Advent. It's one of those Advent devotional books. And yesterday, look at this picture. Yesterday, here's this picture, and it is called Unease. And hang with me for a minute. I'm going to read you just a little bit. It says, there was a moment when the presence of God was felt as the unease of morning sickness. Don't be surprised if your current unease is that exact same avenue of presence. It's a discomfort that women know is leading them to a new life, and it's bearable because of that deep hope of joy. The process of growth is always uneasy because growth never comes through ease. It comes through the stretching and expanding of one's own capacity to push on ahead. The uneasiness is not a sign you're doing it wrong. In fact, just as with pregnancy, it's a sign you're on the right track. Oh boy, what a year I'm in for, right? Yay me, growth. It's not easy. And sometimes our word, though, will take us to deeper places. And so, I just encourage you to spend some time with this. That's all I have for now. But if you have some questions, on the very last page, I listed some resources that I like to learn from, various podcasts right now. The Mel Robbins podcast is rocking my world right now. There's a lot of great resources out there, and go for it. I'm sure you could add a lot to what I've listed here. There's always some brilliant people making lists, but I would love now if I can go ahead and stop the recording if you want to be on recording, but if you have any questions or about this process, it's something that you kind of need to sit with for a bit. Like you need to maybe just give yourself an hour of quiet time and really think about it. Where do I want to be 12 months from now? Where do I want to be 12 months from now? And that is the key. And then evaluate that every 90 days as you go through the year, and course correct if needed. Change up what it is. Change direction. Figure out where you need to go. So anyway, thank you for being here. And if you, feel free to email me, hello@tammyromani.com. Send me a message on Instagram if you want to talk about this more. If you want to understand the Smart Social Strategy Club, go to the link in my bio on my Instagram or go to smartsocialstrategyclub.com. We are accepting new members for this month. So I'd love to see you in there. Thanks for being here.